I read the first 3. Iron Gold was out. And I decided, no, I'm satisfied. This is all I need. I don't need another series. I'm going to go to something else because I was satisfied. And this guy over here insisted that I read it because we're going to have to continue on the series. It's his new thing.
Love Red Rising.
And so I read it. And I wish I didn't.
Oh. Welcome back, everybody, to another To Ramble episode. I am the best co-host here. My name's Austin.
I am the superior host, Richard.
I am the more exemplary co-host, Austin.
I am the magnificent host.
I ran out of vocab. Okay, you win. I barely read.
I'll be honest, I was thinking of a fancier word, and then I couldn't, and so I went with magnificent.
What would the fancier word have been?
Oh, God. Magnanimous. I just fumbled that word in my head. Like, I know there's a word there. Like,
Magnanimous.
have you ever, like, there's a word there. You know there's a specific word for it, but it's just gone. And, like, you just have this hodgepodge of letters that you think kind of belong together.
Rich, I relate to that because not much goes on up here.
Yeah, no. Like, you only get, like, a blurry photo of the word.
Yeah.
The whole thing ain't there. You did see it before. You took the picture. It's just it's hard to see.
It's 12 pixels. I get you.
Exactly.
I'm there. Well, hey, by the way, we're talking about Iron Gold.
Yep, there we go.
That's why we're here. This is book 4 of the Red Rising series, saga, I should say, because the first 3 books of Red Rising is its own completed thing. You can read that and be satisfied, but then Pierce Brown saw it's super successful. He has a lot more he wants to say. He has this sequel series that continues with Darrow. Now, by the way, this will be spoiler-free on Iron Gold for the first 5 to 10 minutes. Then we will talk spoilers, but just quickly saying this, Iron Gold being book 4, we are going to answer the question for those of you who have not read this yet. Richard, what would you say to that person out there that says, I read the first 3, the trilogy, Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star. I was satisfied, or I'm like, maybe I'm here or there. I don't know if I should continue reading. What would you say to that person right there? That person's name's Dave.
All right, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm talking to you.
Dave.
I was just like you. I read the first 3. Iron Gold was out. And I decided, no, I'm satisfied. This is all I need. I don't need another series. I'm going to go to something else because I was satisfied. And this guy over here insisted that I read it because we're going to have to continue on the series. It's his new thing.
Love Red Rising.
And so I read it. And I wish I didn't.
Oh.
Now, the caveat is that's only if you get to Iron Gold. If Iron Gold is the only thing out, I probably wouldn't want to continue on. However, there's Dark Age and Lightbringer out, and I haven't read Dark Age, but I hear that book is worth trudging through Iron Gold. And I understand about a series that's worth trudging through the slog.
Wheel of Time!
I understand.
Zoom in right above your head.
Yeah,
right?
I get it. Yeah. So sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze. But this was a hard lemon to squeeze. This was rough.
As someone who has read Dark Age, I did not read Lightbringer yet. Dark Age was very much worth it, and it's a great book. We will talk about that when we get to Dark Age. But Iron Gold, I will agree with you, Rich. For a Red Rising novel, I was so disappointed. Yeah. And I will, when we get to spoilers, so say the things we did like about it, but there's more things that we disliked. And we are pretty much on the same page with that. And now, one more thing, Rich, for that Dave out there. What if that Dave person, he's questioning whether he should continue reading Iron Gold, but he's also questioning, how can I talk with Richard and Austin more? Well,
I mean, Dave, if you're really struggling, you want to reach out to a couple of book nerds, you're welcome to actually support us on Patreon, where you get to join our exclusive Discord server. It's a monthly book club.
It is.
It's a ton of fun.
It is. What an exquisite transition that was, by the way.
It's honestly...
What a magnanimous, magnificent, whatever word you're trying to say, transition.
You just gave me the alley-oop. I appreciate that.
So,
but Dave, it's if you want to support us, it's a great chance to do so, and you get to talk with us about books. It's a ton of fun.
Now, with Iron Gold, staying spoiler-free, of course.
Of course.
This, you mind if I answer this and don't ask you the question?
This is your thing. Go ahead.
I'll just recap real quick. So coming off of not Golden Sun, Morningstar, the last end of the trilogy, the Red Rising trilogy. This is a 10-year time skip with Darrow. So he's 33 or so now. He's in his 30s, and he has a kid, Pax, as we found out at the end of Morningstar. And he gets this time skip, and this book is from 4 different point of views. You have Darrow, you have Lysander, you have 2 new characters being introduced, Lyria and Ephraim. And we'll get more into that and what we think about each of those point of views. But this is definitely bigger in scale. There's more world to it. But I think our point is that we didn't like a lot of the choices that were made. We'll get into. But keeping this, what you should anticipate going into Iron Gold is it's much grander. And there will be those of you out there who won't. So if you're hesitant to read this, I can see this being someone's thing. Though Pierce Brown himself in interviews is aware that Iron Gold is one of the books that really didn't hit and land with the Red Rising fans. He has acknowledged that Iron Gold is one of those books that people appreciate more over time.
Now, to that point,
yes.
Now that you've read Dark Age,
I have read, yes.
Do you appreciate Iron Gold more after reading Dark Age?
No. But I see why he would say that people appreciate it more, because Dark Age is only possible because of the setup that Iron Gold did. So I totally get what he's saying. So Iron Gold alone is still a disappointing book, but without Iron Gold, you can't have what I thought was a great Dark Age book. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So it definitely set up a lot so that you could get right into it in Dark Age.
Mm.
But with Iron Gold, so he has acknowledged that, and he said people that read the subsequent novels like Dark Age and now Lightbringer's out appreciate this more, and we'll see if that's the case for you when you read Dark Age.
Yeah,
We'll see.
Hey, for the first time, I'm the slow reader.
Oh,
Austin's peeled ahead of me, so
right.
I've been reading other stuff.
So then how about this, Rich? What is your spoiler-free rating for Iron Gold Book 4 of the Red Rising Saga?
Well, my official Rambler rating out of 10.
You got to say Richard Rambler rating, okay? It's just you have the name for the alliteration. Can you just get used to it?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
The official Richard Rambler rating,
Better.
Out of 10, is a 5.35.
Very average.
Yeah, it's competently written.
Mm.
That's ultimately what I have to say about it. Pierce Brown is a very good writer, and so even if I don't like the choices that he makes, at the very least, dialogue is well written. Like, it's competent. I understand what's going on. The plot is coherent. So things don't like just nonsense and doesn't make sense and doesn't flow together. Like, the things make sense. I've read very incompetent books where the plot breaks down, the dialogue is so confusing. Like, so I at least have to give it that.
Imagine me in school handing in an essay. I've worked, I don't know how long you worked on it, like a year on my whole thesis. And the report is, it was legible. That's what you said about Iron Gold. That's,
I guess.
Okay, that's fair. But my I can't even give you crap for that because my rating for Iron Gold is a 4.9.
My God.
And
I have a higher Red Rising score than you.
Morningstar yours was higher as well, the past 2 books.
That is true.
And what's even weirder, though, is me being this disappointed by it. How do you feel that we're...
It makes sense to me that we both equally disliked it. You are more disappointed by it.
Yes.
I was not as disappointed.
Yes, we're equally, and our rating's pretty close, but I'm significantly more disappointed than you. That's a really fair way of putting it. And if you could say, spoiler-free still, where your disappointment lies before we get into spoilers, what would you snip in? Give those people?
The best way to put it, like, the number one issue is going from the first trilogy, which was just single POV of Darrow. Going into this book, it's now 4 POVs, and 3 of them really didn't land for me. Like bad.
Can you say which
like
3?
Real boring. Darrow and
Ephraim
and
Lyria. Okay.
They didn't land at all. Lysander was good. I liked Lysander. He saved this book. Like, oh, it would have been a miserable read if Lysander wasn't in here.
Now I have to ask you though, just like I'm trudging through Wheel of Time, you will continue to Dark Age.
I will. I will continue.
Good
I did.
Prime good men.
I picked up Dark Age and was reading about a couple pages.
Yeah.
And I just went, I don't care.
Oh,
I don't want to. It was
Oh no.
this book really killed my enthusiasm.
Well, let's get
So
specific. then.
I'm gonna have to get into it.
As I will agree with you, by the way, on the point of views and the new characters didn't land and choices with Darrow. Oh boy. Okay. Well, let's get spoilers.
But you haven't given your score.
Oh, did I not get my score? Yeah,
I don't.
4.9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
You never listened to me.
I don't.
It's,
I make it it's an active habit.
I feel like I said that, right?
No, you did.
I definitely did.
I just forgot. It's
You
fine.
could have gaslit me into saying I didn't say that.
I was very easily.
I was
could have.
questioning myself there. Like, really? Okay. So, time for spoilers?
Time for spoilers.
All right, spoiler warning is now. Click off the video if you hate us. Ah, that's how you keep
There you
people
go.
around. All right. Here we go. Spoiler section. What did you give emotional impact out of 10?
Emotional impact, I gave a 5.35 out of 10.
Okay. This is probably our biggest difference on a rating then.
Mm.
I guess my disappointment really shows because I gave it a 3.9. I couldn't give it I had to give it the 4 of how disappointed I was.
I
Now-
thought some action moments really helped me.
It's fair.
I liked some of the world stuff that was explored, and especially with Lysander. I really enjoyed the Lysander parts quite a bit, actually.
Mhm.
That bumped me up to the
I see.
5.35. If I didn't have Lysander, or if Lysander was just slightly worse, it would be in the 4s or 3s.
Why is it a low rating though? Now that we can talk specific, why so low?
Oof. I think let's go down each POV. Let's start with the less important and work our way up to the more.
Well, we could do that with characters even more specifically.
Yeah, but
Well,
it
yeah.
ultimately comes down to characters.
Yeah.
Is the choices made by the characters seems very dull. And for a Red Rising story, Red Rising is all about its characters and its plot, like fast action that is really active, surprising. There's a lot of twists and turns, and it just is exciting. And with its characters are really lovable. You get right behind them. There's not like a really lethargic character where you have to slowly grow on you. None of that. Red Rising is like out of the gate, you're off to the races. This book is not that. Where there's other books where I may not enjoy the characters and the plot may be a little slow, but you know what? The world carries me through. The vibe of the place that I'm exploring carries me through the book. The vibe of Red Rising doesn't carry me through not exciting characters and very boring plot.
To your point on, I think especially Darrow,
Mhm.
where what was different about Iron Gold than the previous 3 that really landed is think about Darrow's part 1 in Red Rising, Golden Sun, Morningstar, especially think in Red Rising and Golden Sun. His part 1 in the sequence was EO dying in the beginning, then deciding to go and infiltrate the Golds. And part 2 was him deciding, wait a second, I won't commit terrorism. I will start a civil war. And he had that mission. Boom. I feel like, and I think this is a problem because there's 4 point of views in here. In all of Iron Gold, we got a part 1 of Darrow. Where think of his beginning to end in this book.
Mhm.
At the very end of the book, he has that moment, that switch, which is why when you'll get to Dark Age, where I think Dark Age is really good. But this whole book, we have Darrow finding that moment he has in the part 1 of Red Rising and Golden Sun, where he has his, okay, my son's gone. Okay, everything's I'm fighting. It's over. Like that, he has his Darrow moment of I've decided.
Mhm.
Whereas with the previous ones, that happened in like the first 10 chapters. So there was a pacing difference and something that was off. And that could be a positive for some people because it expanded the world and was more of a, I guess, political drama and expansive. But that's why Darrow seemed very different. And can I jump on one more thing and interrupt whatever?
I did want to
Oh, yeah.
just point a reminder that we're going to talk about in plot,
Mhm.
that this became more of a political drama.
Mm.
I agree with you, and the political drama is nonsense.
Then let's
like
the plot. We'll get into that.
yeah, we'll get
for
into
sure.
that, but like I think it's like very not well handled.
Okay, then how about this? Because I have more specifics to say about Darrow's decisions and character. So instead of getting too deep in that emotionally, just keeping it
Sure.
broad for a second, that is what didn't land. And I think the key thing is it does come down to characters emotionally. Each point of view didn't feel super justified.
Very much so. Oh God.
That was the biggest
At the
problem.
very least, two of them, the two new characters,
Ephraim and
Ephraim
Lyria.
and Lyria. By the end of the book, I was like, yeah, I don't need to see them in the second book. I don't need them anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why they're like, I'm just sitting there going like, do they really need a whole book with these characters?
I could see Pierce Brown's.
Like, they deserve a chapter,
I-
maybe two. Like, I'm thinking that they are the interlude chapters in the Stormlight.
Oh, that's a what a.
You know what I
diss.
mean?
Oh,
Like, the
he just.
character's like,
Oh,
like it's a throwaway chapter in an
that's,
interlude.
that's a new niche fantasy insult. You can. That's a.
Yeah,
That hit home. That
that's
hit
where they
hard.
belong. They don't belong on the main cast.
They deserve to be that like weird named part 3 and Oathbringer character. That's just in the Pure Lake.
The odd character of the Pure Lake. That's where
I can't even.
Ephraim
What was his
belongs.
name? I don't know.
Yeah,
But he was there.
I've been struggling with remembering Ephraim's name. You've reminded me twice so far.
I have to remind you my own name sometimes. So let's slow down there.
I'm just bad at names.
You call me Justin all the time.
To be fair, they both end in
It's
Austin.
Austin's, yeah, you're
Austin.
right.
Like the whole thing is Austin. Like
Right.
I don't think I'm the bad guy.
You're excused. I'll allow it.
I don't confuse you with Nick. Nick and Austin are different enough. But Justin, I get a pass.
I will give you that, but as long as we're on the same page with Ephraim and Lyria,
Yes.
I'm with you. And I think Pierce Brown's intent here was to show the different levels of society. So you have a different red that's not in Darrow's position now, Lyria, and then you have a gray as Ephraim. And to me, I guess we'll get more into plot when we talk here, but seeing both ends of the kidnapping of Pax and how Lyria was the one that allowed it to happen because she cozied up to a fake persona of Ephraim's, and then Ephraim coming in, so much was focused on that, and this is where all the emotion comes behind. Of the payoff has to be there. All books are, as Brandon Sanderson says, promise
and payoff.
progress, and payoff. And so we're promised this thing with these two characters and building up to this big crescendo and devoting a lot of time to something that just didn't feel super paid off. What a very vague thing to say. I just didn't pay.
No,
off.
I completely agree with you.
Okay.
But I think we should get into the characters.
Let's go specific because this will help us explain our emotions.
Yeah.
Characters, what'd you give it out of 10?
I gave it a 4.25.
You gave it 4.25. I gave it an exact 4 out of 5. So
Lysander
very
is
close.
carrying this score.
Lysander's
Lysander's carrying this whole book when it comes to characters.
he is the Sam of the Lord of the Rings
Yes.
movies. He's got Frodo right on his back.
Without him, the characters go down to like a 3. Like maybe sub 3. I just personally.
He was very interesting this book.
Oh yeah, fascinating character and just great setup. I wanted to know where he was going. It was always fun seeing his perspective. Like that's the thing. Every time he was on the page, I was having fun.
The moral qualms he had in his head were interesting and
Exactly.
compelling. Of him growing up as a gold, but also Cassius trying to lead him into more honor, but then running into the oh God, what are their
Come on.
names? The of Io and the Ganymede. Oh my goodness.
Augustus.
Not Augustus.
I know.
No, this is so terrible.
You're
Romulus.
going to Romulus.
Yes, them.
Don't
So-
come to me for names.
No,
That's
no.
not.
That was a
Never
mistake.
try.
So very interesting and compelling
Yeah.
character in that way. We're on the same page.
And also just an interesting main character in a way that Darrow isn't. I enjoyed that he definitely has main character energy, but in a different direction. And I could just see how he's a fun foil for Darrow. Like they both play off each other really well. So I enjoyed him quite a bit.
Can I say one more
That's
character I enjoyed?
Oh,
And then we'll get into the rest.
we
of it.
both agree.
Oh, you're saying Volga?
Volga.
Volga.
I loved Volga.
I wasn't gonna say Volga though.
Volga was great. I wanted more Volga.
Okay, Volga is great, but I was gonna
She
go
was
one
great.
more and say Pax. I liked Pax, and one scene that got me with Pax. This is the one that did it. He's angry and stubborn with his father and doesn't show that. But then when he was talking to Lyria, he was talking to Lyria, showing that trying to remember her name and remembers people's names because his father tells him that's the thing to do, and he looks up to his father. So I really like the dynamic of to his father's face, he shows that anger and stubbornness, but when his father's not there, he really respects Darrow. And so that was a cool dynamic of I could see the son. I could see the son's position there and empathize.
Sure.
But cool scene. Now to get into the more negatives.
Yes.
First,
Ooh.
Darrow, because Darrow's the book of Red Rising.
Sure. And
Why didn't you like Darrow?
right out of the gate, Darrow just seems so neutered. Such a neutered character and
Can I help
so
you?
passive.
Can I help you with
help
that?
me out.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you're gonna 100% agree with me, and I'm gonna feel. I'm so happy
feel-
because
feel
I know
great
you're
about it?
about to agree with this. So you said neutered and passive.
Mhm.
That I dove into this book and figured out why didn't I like Darrow's story. Now, one of the parts was, as I explained before, of his whole story here is kind of the part ones of the previous books.
Mhm.
But think about this as a 3-act structure. What is Darrow's Act 1 to Act 2 change here? What's the catalyst? Now,
I get
Yeah.
his Act 2 change would be when he is actually going against. He's been excised from his own
Yeah,
republic.
very, very close. I think the specific moment. So look at Red Rising first. Red Rising, that catalyst moment was, or I should say, right after Act 1, when he's in Act 2, Darrow kills Julian. Remember that scene where
Mhm.
he put in a spot where it's either kill him or die, and he decides to go rampage mode and destroys Julian and regrets it afterwards. Like not regrets it, has guilt, but did it and wouldn't have chosen otherwise because he still needs to get the job done.
Mhm.
He killed him intentionally. And now a similar scene where it's the Act 1, Act 2 area in Iron Gold is, remember, he kills Wolfalgar. But he doesn't kill Wolfalgar intentionally. We have Severo kind of shoots this thing at Wolfalgar's legs and accidentally falls into Darrow's sling blade. And so Darrow accidentally kills Wolfalgar, which causes the catalyst of this story. So the whole time you're reading this, it gives Darrow the out of being a passive character where he didn't intentionally kill Wolfalgar. So he kind of got passively put into this position. And if he made the decision to kind of go with it and be more full-headed, or not full-headed, what's the word I'm looking for? Magnanimous about it. Sort of whatever that. Still, we're gonna find that word.
We're gonna look it up later, so we don't feel as dumb after.
Someone comment what it was, right?
Yeah.
But
If you've gotten this far in the video,
Yeah.
comment the word that you think we're trying to say
Or
down
just-
below.
or just comment magnanimous or an M word, something.
There you go.
But that's the scene where it seems so passive of him to do. And so the whole story we're following, I never put this blame on Darrow, whereas with Red Rising, you could follow it and you understood why Cassius was mad and angry that you chose to kill my brother. Whereas with this is when everyone's mad at him for killing Wolfalgar, we can't empathize with that anger because he didn't intentionally kill Wolfalgar.
And it's not only that, it's the obvious choices that he has to make.
Yeah.
In the previous trilogy, he has options.
Mhm.
Like the moment where he destroys the docks.
Yes.
That was a choice.
Yeah.
There were options on the table, and ultimately he made, like, did he make the right one? Don't know, but he had choices to make.
You saying that makes me want to raise Morningstar Act. Well, I can
Yeah.
write that down. I like that a lot. I like that a lot.
That's a great choice.
That's a great choice. Yeah. Well,
In this one,
wait. Hold on. It's a
okay, it's a war crime.
wait. Slow down.
War crimes can be cool too.
It's a great story choice for my interest. For my
Yes,
Yeah.
but also
a great choice. Okay, go on.
But in this book, when it comes to dealing with the remnants of the old empire, you gotta get, you're on, they're at death's door. And the fact that everyone's like, okay, we've spent 10 years fighting them, and we finally have them cornered to one planet. Now's the time to stop. What? No, this isn't the time to stop. Darrow's totally right. And ultimately, they're just so stupid. And he finally is sitting there just going like, they're idiots. They're going to get us all killed. I just have to go do it myself anyway.
Which makes sense.
It makes sense. Like, there's no other option other than, like, he gets to sit back and say, I told you so. Those are options. Sit back and be satisfied with an I told you so to the Senate when inevitably, Venus comes around and actually wrecks them. Or do you actually fight them when they're on their last legs?
So
there's no choice. There's the one obvious option you have to do, and it's not compelling.
And you had Dancer was leading the Senate there, and that group of
Yeah.
Well, what'd you think while we're talking characters of Dancer, for example?
Ugh, I get his position. I understand from a Red's point of view, it's a whole decade of war.
Mm.
I get that. Like, I would even almost understand their position if it was before Mercury, before the rainfall of Mercury.
Let's say the rain failed.
Yeah, the rain failed, or there's still 2 planets to go.
Mm.
Like, the end is still a ways off. I get that. Like, maybe we should try and figure out a negotiation. It's been going on for a decade. The end is still quite another decade to go.
Mm.
I understand that position.
Basically, you're saying the position of you're playing chess and you captured their queen and go, let's call it a draw.
Yes. No. Well, here's the thing. Negotiate, and this is a Star Trek clip, by the way.
Oh, here we go.
But Quark explains to a Vulcan on how actual negotiation happens. Negotiation is best had when there's no clear winner, when both sides are kind of equal and nobody knows who's going to win. That's the time to hammer out an agreement. But you can't negotiate from a position of like overwhelming strength at that point. Like, they either surrender or you wipe them out. That's the options. They aren't going to surrender, so you gotta wipe them out. Yeah. So that's my personal thought on.
There are some historical things
choices.
that would go against what you said, but
Yes, I get that.
but in a book sense, and this geopolitical,
Yeah, no, it's on top of the fact that they got him on the ropes. They're all the way there. They're back down to 1 more planet. Like, come on. At least add enough troops. Maybe don't do another Iron Rain, but, blockade the planet or something.
you couldn't not understand, but maybe empathize as much with Dancer and the Senate's point of view. You were you were more frustrated by it. You needed something else to give them more credence behind their opinion.
Yeah.
Because the stance of them, Dancer, was that millions just died in the Iron Rain. We can't afford that life, that the amount of lives that were lost. It's been 10 years of war. It took us 10 years to get that planet. How long is it going to get this next planet? Another 10 years?
To be fair, they got other planets in those 10 years.
Oh,
I don't think it was just like Mercury. They've been fighting over Mercury for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was the case, but okay.
Yeah, with Mercury and Venus. So here's the thing. I do agree with you. I think the decision I was with Darrow on that decision. I think the big thing for me was that catalyst moment, and how Darrow went about it is what did it for me. But I'm with you. As far as especially enjoyment in a book, you kind of want to see the war. You want to see where that goes. And it's the sneaking suspicion of, if you're thinking in the back of your mind, I know what the answer is to this problem. Just like, here's one more thing that I think was done poorly in the book from Darrow's point of view, is the reveal of, let me find the exact name. I'm bad with names today for some reason. So the Ash Lord. The reveal of the Ash Lord being incapacitated.
Oh, yeah, that was so obvious.
So here's what I think part of your problem was with the not attacking Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Was maybe you could understand the position, but where the story should go and what the answer is, and that Darrow is right. That Venus is pulling something. Yeah, this is a trick. So just like with the reveal with the Ash Lord, in the plot. I guess this is more plot. Let's talk with characters for a second. But in how it's done in the sequence of events is it's focused on so much of, the Ash Lord hasn't been around for like 3 years and there's been no signs and it's super big security. So going in, okay, the Ash Lord's either dead, incapacitated, or something, and it's not going to be a surprise. So the way it was written, when Darrow revealed this and it was a big shock to him, we're going, Darrow, I knew this. You should have known this. We had the same information. So is that kind of the correct mind pattern that you had going into something like that? Yeah,
that's kind of, it happened a lot in the plot. But I think while we're still on characters, we should go over the other ones.
Ephraim and Lyria, go ahead.
Oh, Lord. So Lyria, Ephraim at least has a spot, I think, in this story. Maybe he doesn't deserve as much page time as he got, but I think there's a point for him being there. Lyria, I don't see why she's there. Like, ultimately, plot purposes, she's there because she was duped into a kidnapping plot but ultimately she offers nothing. She offers nothing to the plot at all.
I found a big problem. Sorry,
She's
go
there.
on with that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, but Lyria's there for the whole balance. She's supposed to show the thematic difference with the new Reds and like their societal position. So she wasn't there for the plot. She was there for the world, and it just did not work very well in this type of book.
To show maybe the red hand a bit from that perspective.
Yeah,
To show that world aspect. Could you? So I tried to help you out with an answer. Could you help me out with this one?
I'll do my best.
Because I found that again, I'm referring back to the books that I loved with Red Rising. I was really attached to Io, or maybe just attached to the love that Darrow did truly love Io, and that had an impact on him as a character, and therefore made it compelling.
Mhm.
And that was done in like 5 chapters. Now, again, Iron Gold has the problem of 4 point of view, so you have to kind of pack a punch in 1 or 2 chapters. Lyria, I think it was the first chapter or first 2 of her point of views where her family dies. Most of her family dies. I didn't emotionally feel what I felt for Darrow and Io.
Yeah.
And could you help me out and explain why I felt that way? Or was it too brief? Was it not enough for me to...
I think a lot of it is expected. Like you just
Okay.
know. Like
Maybe that's
with
it?
Io's death was quick. It was quick. It was all focused. It was just really heartfelt. It was all focused. With Lyria, it felt like just the obligatory, hey, we need to show how nice her family is so we can get, and we know they're dead by the end of the chapter. Like when I was reading that and they're talking about her family, I'm like, oh, they're all dead.
I guess Io felt more
By
real.
the end of
than
the
I realized.
chapter,
I
they're
get-
gonna be gone.
Like Io being there for 5 chapters has an impact on the whole story, and I can still think back and know her character.
Yeah.
And know what decisions she'd make at the age of 16 when she died.
Yeah. And
So-
it also just the reaction as well. I thought Darrow's reaction to Io's death was interesting.
Yes, yeah.
Where theirs is just kind of expected. She's depressed, she's sad, but also angry at her government for failing her.
Mhm.
Nothing complex there. Not I mean it's understandable but not very interesting. Where I thought it was really interesting with Darrow of after his wife's death, of course depressed, but then wants to pick up her cause and going like I don't know if I wouldn't trade her life for the rising.
Mhm.
But she would. And for her I'll do this. I thought that that's
Yeah.
interesting. He's not like fully behind. He's not this
Right, he's not there. He's not as revolutionary in the beginning.
exactly.
Yeah.
He's doing it for her.
Right.
And so that makes it kind of interesting from his perspective.
And seeing how that changes over time.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
makes it compelling. You are explaining it correctly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lyria is
Can I
like
call you brother?
maybe not there yet.
Okay.
Co-host.
Okay.
It's about as close.
When I get excited, I try to push the boundaries. Okay, I agree with that. And let's go on to Ephraim, because there's a couple other characters maybe we should go over. Unless you had something else with
No, that's about it. I mean,
Ephraim. Why didn't Ephraim work for you? And this
For the most part,
is
he's-
significant. We rated this 4 and 4.25, so it was significant enough where 3 point of views of the book were uninteresting.
Yeah.
Which is why you rated it low.
I think Ephraim was, at least by the end, there was a little something more than Lyria. Like I thought Ephraim started off bad. Like I was not interested in his character at all in the beginning. He was the worst by far. Then over time, like he had an actual plot importance and you could see his point of view a bit more. He started to change. That's why I started to at least appreciate him on his page a little bit. But before that, Red Rising does a great job at like getting you behind likable characters and characters you want to follow behind. And Ephraim's not that. Ephraim ain't that. He's depressed and he's just wrong and is not depressed as in like you can empathize with it, more just self-destructive and not wanting help to the point of like, okay, just go die already.
Ooh.
Like, so you are hurting others to the point of like, I leave. Like, he's that self-destructive that I just don't have hope for him.
You didn't see the hope that Volga had in him.
No. And just how he hurt others, he didn't seem like a likable character. I didn't see like a nugget of good in him.
A comment you made while we were reading this is you were talking about Lyria, Darrow, and Ephraim and felt a very similar, almost emo or just depressing, kind of a sulking feeling. Would you still agree with saying that? You said something similar to that.
Yeah. it was just edgy and depressive that I was like, fine, just leave.
Oh,
Leave then. Like, why are you here?
you know what? Part of this, if you're still listening here, part of these opinions we're having, we did read this rather glim. Is glim a word? Like grim? It's not even. It's not.
What thing are you trying to say?
Sad. Gray. This rather
Grim is the correct word.
That's why did I say glim? Like glim.
Because you're thinking glib. Glib as it
glib.
is not taking something seriously.
Yeah, yep. So this rather grim book, not the most happy one. We read this while we were in Iceland. So we were, having a great vacation and then had to go back to, God, Ephraim wants to kill himself again. So maybe that has to
that is just how he just keeps pushing people away and just being awful to people and doesn't like I just don't but
it's strange because sometimes there can be like Kaladin, for example, in the beginning of Stormlight and throughout is this depressed character, but you love something about Kaladin. And there's also characters in Joe Abercrombie's series that
it's not the depression.
Yeah.
It's how you treat others.
There you go. I'm trying to get you into
you're trying to help.
Yeah.
You're trying to save me from the comments.
I'm
like, oh, Richard hates depressed people.
Yeah, so
no, that's not it.
Because you love me, right?
Exactly.
Oh.
You treat others. Okay. No, but it's seriously, being depressed does not justify you in any way of treating others like shit. I hate that, of someone taking their own personal insecurities and projecting like, oh, well, I'm only mean to them because like I'm depressed or I have a mental like, no, screw you. That doesn't give you justification. And so me trying to sympathize with someone treating others like shit because they are sad. No. Kaladin has depression and he's a good guy. He treats others well and does his best.
That's all a good point, but when you're sad, you still treat me like shit.
And I'm a piece of shit for doing it.
But you make an interesting. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting.
At the very least, there's got to be a nugget of understanding, and there was very little understanding with him. Like, I understand him being maybe his take against the Republic. I get that. Like, hey, my husband or fiance, I don't know if they exactly got married or not, but boyfriend, husband, whatever, died because of the Rising and basically was forgotten about. Just like another death on the pile, and I don't think it was worth it. Fine, he's against the government, but against his dead husband's sister and pushing her away and being awful to her? No. Volga, who's the nicest person ever, just the big old ball of sun.
You know who'd have a great time? Adeline and Volga.
Adeline and Volga. Volga was the best character in this whole story.
There was too little of her.
There was way too little of her.
We need
I want more of her.
Yeah.
And how awful he was to her. Ugh. No, I don't want him anymore. Like, I'm thinking back to the character like Glokta from First Law trilogy.
No, that's not First Law, is it?
No, Glokta is from First Law trilogy.
Okay.
I'm making a comparison of he's depressed. He's very depressed.
Okay.
Awful things have happened to him. And there's a good nugget of justification on why he is very grumpy and just kind of pissy toward people.
Got it.
He's in constant physical pain. Like, actual agony from climbing steps. I'm not spoiling anything. That's like first chapter. Okay, so I'm not spoiling much.
Yeah.
He's in pain. Like, his greatest enemy is stairs because that's how much it hurts. Just gritting his teeth because it's painful every step. I understand why he's angry at people.
Yeah.
And when someone comes to him, he's a little pissy. Makes sense. Ephraim, no, it's been 10 years. You don't need to be an asshole to every single person that's nice to you.
So you didn't sympathize that, especially with the fact that he was angry to the one person in his life who could relate to his love for Trig.
Yeah. I don't like him.
I very much understand that, and I agree with most of what you said. Most because I think you made fun of me once or twice in there, but don't agree with it. But then we have a couple characters just before we get into plot. Mustang, anything you want to say on Mustang? Or anything you want to say on...
Not much, but I mean...
Victra?
I guess with Mustang particularly, she felt a little declawed. Like, she's supposed to be really smart, savvy, and it seems like the plot just navigates every situation that comes her way. The plot navigates, and it's just like, oh, she actually can't get involved.
Right.
I'm like,
She
okay,
supposedly
why?
has power but can't use
Yeah.
power, right?
Like, what power does she have? She seems to have no authority
That was
at
frustrating.
all, and it just felt weird. Victra, I like Victra as a character, but man, I don't know if she really belongs in the Republic. I don't know if she really belongs there. But hey, at least she's interesting.
I can't say anything on Victor because I think I'm mixing that and Dark Age. I don't
this
know.
one, I'll
where's
help
Victor,
you where
where's Victor end?
ends.
Yeah.
Victor ends because she's basically kidnaps Lyria.
Yep. Okay.
She was just going on a rampage, and even though Mustang's like, Victra, we're like interrogating her and try to get information out of her to, you know, find our kids.
Yeah.
Could you not like destroy everything? Could you actually let us do our job? No, I'm gonna torture her. It's like, we're getting the information now.
I might disagree.
You stop.
I might disagree though.
And then, like, they actually found it. They found the kids, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna kidnap her anyway. Like, what the hell?
I might disagree with you just because I did like that. Because she's a very clear character to me. I can understand her motivations, and it was almost to a point of just revenge at that point.
Yeah, no, she's at least interesting. I just think she doesn't fit with the Republic, which is
fair point. Fair point.
That's not a criticism on the book. No. It just is more
a statement.
A statement on the character, and it's provides more fun for the story.
That's fair. And now want to go with the plot?
Yeah.
Let's talk some plot because we kind of mix some plot in there.
Sure.
What'd you give that out of 10?
I give the plot a 5.25.
I give it a 4.
I could be convinced to lower it, but I think it was the reason why I'm giving it at least the 5, like into the 5 range, is I understand everything. Everything was clearly laid out. I don't think there was any massive plot holes. I may not agree with any of the direction for these things, but it was at least coherent. I understood it. Maybe I didn't agree, but I at least understood.
Yeah, fair. I wouldn't give it. I'd say I have that expectation too. 4, if anything that's incoherence, below a 4 for sure. But with this in particular, with the plot in particular, we kind of glossed over some points. Big problem goes to how the 4 point of views were handled, kind of as we've been broadly covering, with did we really need Ephraim and Lyria and all of that for that payoff? Just a lot of the bad decision making that I think was made. And I will say the second part of this, or of the general plot structure that I liked, or I shouldn't say general plot structure. I'll say the one thing I really did like about the plot, the best thing I can say, is how it ended with Darrow had me going, okay, there's hope for Dark Age. So the best thing I can say is I read the book, and although I wasn't enjoying the moments, it finished with Darrow going, I'm going full Darrow mode next book. And that got me a glimmer of hope. But just keeping this as a story at its whole, I didn't have as much love. What do you think?
To tack on to that, to your point of where you had some hope at the end, is it bad that like I had the opposite reaction of like that happened with Darrow, and I'm just kind of like, all right, we've seen this before, and I'm just like, all right, I just didn't expect anything new or interesting. I was like, okay, we've seen it. I guess Darrow's back to Darrow again. All right. I just wasn't that excited to see.
Can I say the one?
I wasn't excited to read Golden Sun again.
Yeah.
Like, I've already read those books.
No,
I'm done.
Here's why I thought that. No spoilers at all for Dark Age, because I'm not saying whether this happens or doesn't happen, because Dark Age I still liked, regardless of what happens in Dark Age. Remember my complaints about Morningstar, where Darrow needed more character growth? The end of Iron Gold for me left on a point of, okay, he needs to make mistakes and still learn.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So the end here had me going, oh, it might go into what I wanted in Morningstar, where Morningstar kind of quickly just resolved Darrow and went to the happy ending. Whereas this built up for a more potentially gritty following book, where Darrow, you know, if his son's gone, his wife's gone, he's losing everything. He's actually in an all is lost. What's he do? So I guess that's why it it was more interesting at the end. But let's agree again and go, why did the plot not work for you?
The big point is a lot of it could be cut. Ephraim and Lyria could, like, I think Lyria could be cut down to maybe 2-3 chapters.
Oh God.
That's all you need.
Oh.
And thing is, I think she could actually be a valuable POV in a much shorter time frame. Like, just give her 2 to 3 chapters, tighten them up. Could be an interesting look into the current Reds of society and the Red Hand. Cool.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ephraim. I think maybe cut down on that beginning stage a little bit. Jump a little forward more. Cut his chapters down. Probably be better. And then with
Darrow's probably already kind of
Darrow-
went into with his catalyst, and then how the whole book is kind of as part 1 of previous books.
Mhm.
Then how about you give some praise and some flowers to Lysander?
Lysander was fun. I think the action with Lysander was far more enjoyable than most of the other action in the rest of the book, because I liked his way of fighting, just how he overanalyzed stuff. It was like Darrow analyzes things, but Lysander goes a step beyond, and it was fun to see that. How the fights were really interesting. All the stuff with Romulus is great. Great plot. I loved how they were handling the problems, the conflict, the drama between it. Really good.
That was the highlight.
Yeah.
Especially can you tell me where Romulus ends?
Basically, Romulus kills himself.
Okay, yeah. I'm making sure. That was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a great scene.
Oh, yeah, great scene. And okay, the one thing that got me a little bit like, I don't know if it really worked, was Lysander and Romulus's daughter. That whole dynamic, I don't know if it really worked for me. I guess they were trying to do the whole Darrow and Mustang parallel, but didn't work as much.
What'd you think about Cassius? And
really enjoyed Cassius.
you enjoed Cassius?
I really enjoyed. I love that little family thing they had going on with the blue Cassius and then Lysander. That was really great. I liked his point of view on how he is redeeming himself and how he puts himself apart from the old empire and also the Republic.
Interesting.
And how it really sets up how Romulus kind of also thinks that golds need to be the shepherd. They forgot that they were just the point of view of golds are superior, but that they shouldn't be oppressive. Like, they're there to lead, not to oppress. They're there to be the shepherd.
So it doesn't get rid of that god complex.
No,
but it's
it
almost
channels it in
it's
like,
almost
slightly better way. Like, at least like there are two, like if you had to pick the two options, one is better. Like, objectively speaking,
use your narcissism in the right direction.
Exactly.
Come on, be a good egotist.
Exactly. Yeah. No, like Romulus is actually honorable of like how all that stuff of where they talk about the rationing and how they're making the Reds ration, but they also the golds ration the exact same way. Like, kind of equality across the table, that even the golds have to follow the rules that the golds set up. Like, golds still make the rules. Like, yes, of course, because the golds are the best and superior. They have to make the rules, but they are also subject to them just as much as a red, which is interesting.
Yeah.
At least they hold to their own standards.
Yeah. I like their culture, which we can get into world building when we discuss that as well. With plot, I think what we're just both going to agree with is that it's a significant factor when I'm reading the book and going, I'm bored.
Yeah.
That's going to affect enjoyment rating. It's going to, and with 3 out of the 4 point of views to you not hitting, that's a huge deal.
Until Volga was on page.
Until
Ephraim's chapters with Volga, pretty great.
Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
I would have been happy with just throw out all 4 POVs and just give me a whole book of Volga. That's what I wanted.
Just Volga going around doing good deeds.
Volga doing good deeds would be a great book. That's all I want.
Volga's
just
adventures.
Just Volga's adventures of her helping out. Everyone's kind of afraid of her because she's an obsidian. But then at the end of her little adventure of helping someone, she goes to the zoo and she pets the animals.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want a serialized episodic adventure series with Volga.
Like even the Jackal from the previous trilogy is like, she's not bad.
She's not bad. Like, she's too good for this world.
This one, I'm not torturing this one.
No. We need the Jackal understands there has to be balance in the world. And for all his evil, Volga balances him out. And he's like, this is a cosmic need.
Acceptable.
She needs to be here to balance out my wickedness.
That's why I'm here for you.
Exactly. You're the positive nature to my negative Nancy energy.
You went with that. I'll take it. I thought you were going to reverse it in some twisted manner that you always do, but I'm taking it.
I know I'm the negative Nancy.
Dialogue prose time?
Yep.
All right. What'd you give it out of 10?
5.5.
6.25.
Yeah. It's maybe a slight dip in quality compared to his other books, but I think about the same line because Pierce Brown knows what he's writing. He's a competent writer.
He's a very good, an excellent writer. I love his dialogue prose in the first trilogy more so. Mm-hmm. Well, up to this point with Iron Gold, I won't talk Dark Age yet. But with this book, the biggest thing, because I put this in dialogue prose when I rate, is character voice. Now, in the previous trilogy, it's all Darrow, and the character voice is so real, powerful, and strong. There's literally no problems. Mm-hmm. I had a bit more of a character voice issue with this book, and I get when Ephraim's speaking and Lyria is speaking, and I see it, but they don't have a powerful voice to me. That when they say a line of dialogue, I'm not always going, oh, that's such a Lyria line. I don't know what a Lyria line is. I don't have her clearly fleshed out. And to some regard, some of the side characters, I also was feeling that as well. But Ephraim had more of a clear voice. It's just, it didn't pop out. It didn't bulge over the page. So it's still very competent, good writing. Better than I could do, of course. But being the sticklers we are. Character voice, plus a lot of it seeming, maybe, I guess I put with my emotions, if the dialogue and prose doesn't seem as profound, like there's not a scene that I'm emotionally invested in, just affects my reading. So I just put it lower overall. Dialogue prose is my one where I just kind of stick a number on the wall. It came to a 6.25, Pierce. I'm sorry.
Well, I got my three pillars of dialogue and prose.
Your three pillars, yeah.
I look, can the dialogue in the exact same scene, the same line, can it deepen the character? Does it push the plot along? And does it show me more about the world? All in the same line. For the most part, I think Pierce Brown does all three. He just doesn't really do all three at the same time. Maybe he does one, maybe does two, but it's not sorry to say it again, but it's not your Terry Pratchett level.
Yeah.
Terry Pratchett does it best, and I compare a lot of dialogue and prose to him on just that level of technical skill on being to completely fill the words with the exact meaning it takes to cover every ground of a story.
Understood. And you do this all the time. But understood. And with the dialogue prose, though, it's not bad in the slightest.
No.
It's good. And it just didn't pull me as much as his other books did. So that's what it'll come down to. You want to go world building, get more interesting here?
Get right into world building.
World building magic system. What'd you give it out of 10?
A 6 out of 10.
6.35. So very close. Why would you say it was above average for you? What were the positive things about the world?
Everything with Lysander and Romulus. That was some of the most positive stuff about the book. The biggest negatives on the world building was just the whole Republic and their political structure was like, oh Lord. It just made me, I think I said it to you on the plane while we were reading, that democracy is cringe. And it justified that t-shirt I want. I want a democracy is cringe t-shirt.
You realize you've said that to me so many times. I can't, of course you said it to me on the plane. You said it to me in the bathroom when I'm trying to go to the bathroom. Austin, don't forget, democracy is cringe. Like, Rich, leave me alone. It's 3 a.m. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's just your thing now.
It is my thing. This book proved that democracy is cringe.
Just have one person decide.
Exactly.
The only problem is you need that one person to be a good person.
Hey, look, I'm a fan of rolling the dice. Right? Monarchy's great if you actually get the good monarch. It's about getting the good monarch.
Just get the good monarch there for 50 years solid.
You got a solid 50 years. That's pretty good.
I mean, after that,
are you a gambler? You want to roll those dice? What would be the odds? Like 1 in what, 500?
1 in 500 that they're good.
1 in 500 odds. It's probably lower. I think there were some decent monarchs out there in history. we cover the history of the bad ones, obviously, but there's some good ones that like they're a footnote in history because everything was just okay with them. Like
No
and
problems.
That's not historically significant. That like, hey, for like 30 to 50 years, things were all right. Things went swimmingly. That's not a thing to write about in history books.
I guess you got a point there.
So, but yeah, you want to roll those dice. I think in this book, they should have rolled those dice with Mustang. Just be the leader.
So you didn't like the political structure there?
No.
I will say I did like what we got from the Rim. Very cool with
Yes.
it. So Lysander's perspective, and Deep Grave was pretty cool that we learned about that. I have this down as well. The robots, we're getting some subtle changes in the world where the robots are starting to be more prolific. Is prolific the wrong word? More expansive, and they're starting to propagate. That's the word.
Mhm.
So with Quicksilver having this, his whole point of the revolution was, I want capitalism to the extreme. I want free market everywhere. I want to be able to do this. Now robots are coming into society. How will that affect things? It's cool. On the flip side, I just
know that there's sci-fi that does robots better. Like the AI revolution thing. I'm just like, I've seen it done better in other stories where it's like,
excuse me,
there.
Did I give this a 9?
I'm surprised it didn't.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it was. I will say one bad thing of that was added to the world building. Other than just me not being enthralled with the world, okay, 2 things. Sorry, I'm gonna back up to this first thing that I want to say. This book was more geared and focused in world building, and the fact that I wasn't as invested in the world is a negative on the world. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if the focus of a book is, hey, care about the world. Look, there's all these point of views in all this big world, and I was like, okay, it's good. That's a factor. The one thing that was added to the world that could lead to future plot holes is the tech that Ephraim used to give Lyria to destroy the whole ship is a very the technology is just a very almost Deus Ex Machina. I don't want to say that because it's not exactly that in this case, but it's a device that can be used. Like you're going, okay, if a device like that can exist and kind of just win,
why couldn't they sneak that into a bottle of booze?
Right. It's a pretty easy thing
and then get that to Venus
or anywhere,
and then it kills.
The use cases of that are huge, and I guess it could be explained of way of like it's impossible to get in super hard tech and et cetera, but just adding that to the world made me go, okay, that's kind of just that's basically magic and sci-fi, and it's your god power, and I was a little bit like, okay, that could be potentially bad.
It also it really devalues the importance of Lyria specifically.
Yeah,
it's like you could have done that with literally anybody.
Why this big plot?
Yeah, why can't you just, have a pickpocket that does the reverse pickpocket and like just put it in one of the staff's pants?
Right. Go to the side of like easiest resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you have to do this months-long investigate, get into the train? Like, we got to get this specific girl.
Right.
No, you don't. Yeah. Just throw it on the plane. It doesn't seem that hard.
It all comes back to Richard just hating female characters in fiction.
Yeah, that's where it really comes down to.
And apparently, when you look at this as a scope, you have to say one thing about Iron Gold. In summary, what would you say to that person out there?
1 out of 4.
What, that you enjoyed?
Yeah, 25%. I liked 25% of this book.
Man, what a depressing note to end on.
Yeah,
you're more like Ephraim than you think.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry.
I hate Ephraim because I hate myself.
All right, we're gonna talk, everybody. I gotta go talk to Richard offset.
All right, bye, everybody.
Well, what's the problem? We both have the same problems. Then what do we do?
I mean, misery loves company.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.